When you're the tiny rat living in a world of giants, life can be incredibly challenging. So often underestimated, seen simply as an easy meal. And yet, as the night falls and the grass comes alive with brightly glowing eyes, turning your back on the rats may just be the last thing you ever do. A while back, I was discussing the different carnivores currently in the Isle, and blatantly skipped over Troodon. I believe I said simply, "And what about Troodon? You already know what about Troodon." I've since learned my lesson, and now I ask myself honestly, what about Troodon? Why not play the venom rat, the sanctuary worm? Of course, getting started is rough. Slightly less rough when you find an AFK fresh spawn Cerrado. Don't worry, it only took literally 2 minutes of biting to bring it down. With a great growth diet though, it wasn't long before I had a small group and we were on our way out of Sanctuary and into the unknown, with visions of epic battles. Granted, we still had a lot of growing to do, but that's beside the point. As we got to water access, though, life took a turn for the chaotic very quickly.
Don't. You need to get your legs. I'm going to steal an organ and we're getting out of here. I am not big enough to steal an organ and we are not getting out of here. Actually, farmer, come here. Come here.
What?
Oh my goodness, it's alive. Don't touch it.
Oh my goodness, what is that? What is that?
It's a dino.
That was beautiful.
Right now.
What the hell is going on?
It's alive. Don't touch it.
What is going on?
God.
We may have
Serrano came back.
We may have stumbled across a live dino in a bush that we thought was dead.
Nope.
Unfortunately, as one of the group had been killed by the Cerrado, we turned back toward the sanctuary to reset and potentially grab a bite to eat, now that our meal had been taken away. The new meal came in the form of a fresh spawn Cerrado. Not a bad offering, all things considered anyway. Not necessarily wanting to spend our entire lives hunting fresh spawns, we made our way toward highlands. The thing with Troodon is that in a coordinated pack with absolutely no mistakes, they can take down just about anything. Getting a target of a reasonable size to the third venom stage is quite often deadly for them if they're alone. A bit more risky though, if they have backup. Though with the younger members of our small pack getting close to starvation, we needed to hunt something, and soon. So naturally, when we saw a young stego, even though it was with an adult guardian, we set our sights high. When it comes to hunting stegos with pouncing animals, the worst mistake you can make is bad timing. Pounce when the stego has a power jab charged, and you might as well kiss the menu screen with your entire face, because that's how fast you'll find yourself with a thagomizer through your chest. Doesn't matter if you land the pounce perfectly, the server loves to simply say die and kill you anyway. Regardless, we began the dangerous battle of the rats versus the elephant. Right from the outset, we unfortunately lost one member of the pack. But with incredibly careful coordination, we began to whittle down the stegling's health. The biggest problem was, of course, well, as you can probably guess, the big problem in the middle of the stegling merry-go-round. Her existence made going for every attack on the baby much more dangerous. Even her bite could essentially kill one of us. We had to pounce and dismount again before she could position herself to nibble our noodle butts. As the situation grew more dire and the baby grew more injured, though, they moved to the water to camp. For once, I desperately hoped for a dino to exist in the lake. But in this very unfortunate case, dinos proved themselves to be a myth as per usual, and we ultimately had no choice but to give up the hunt. By morning, though, we had killed a goat and the baby Carno that tried to steal it from us. And we were sitting pretty. Of course, around the lake there's never a quiet moment for long. As I relaxed in some long grass, overseeing the pack's feast, I spotted it. Land dino. Coming to steal our food. I don't think so, buddy boy. We sent him packing like the absolute vicious noodles we were, and made a triumphant return to our food. No stinky swamp monster was taking our meal. Oh, but he wasn't giving up yet. As I regained my stamina, he started making his way back. Probably having decided that he wasn't going to let a bunch of rats deter him from eating. We, however, weren't having that. Not a chance. Now, someone said that once a target is in purple, you can just hang on and keep dealing more damage. I tested it out this time, and I'm not convinced that's the case. Either way, Slimageddon fled back to the water without taking our food. And we got out of Dodge because a large pack of raptors showed up in his place. A few days later, we were in South Plains, being absolute menaces to the local juvenile population. I've got a slight grudge against the Cerratos in general right now, considering how many of them exist constantly, and how absolutely obnoxious they are. So, when we saw a sweet little happy family of 2 adults and 2 juveniles making their way toward Highlands, we knew we needed to do our part to keep the population in check. We stalked the family for a long moment, waiting for the adults to run ahead and leave their juveniles undefended. And then we struck. The first went down with barely a whisper. But the other one was slightly larger and raced after its guardians, screaming in much the way a toddler would if attacked by rabid chihuahuas. Quite unfortunately for this little happy family, we would not be deterred. The second juvenile went down, and we made our way down to the river for a drink. Life was going incredibly well. And that's why Farmer got a fatal error while we were drinking. No better place for such things after all. Out in the open, beside a water source, where anything and everything can see you. With a queue of 70 people, all we could do was watch and wait, hoping that somehow 5 minutes would pass without someone running by. Well, the first thing to pass by didn't run, it flew. And then the worst happened. An adolescent Carno. We wouldn't allow such travesty to stand uncontested. He may have killed our friend, but he would not be given the opportunity to walk away alive. Ultimately, he swam across the river to attempt to escape. No, you're not getting away that easily. We may not have had the stamina, but we were determined to make this Carno pay for his crimes. Instead, he chose body denial. Technically a rule break on Petite, but it is what it is. Luckily for us, though, a pair of young Cerratos eventually smelled the body and dragged it out of the river while we rested in the bushes nearby. I landed a perfect pounce, and then somehow ended up in the river, as the server decided nuh-uh and instead tossed me where I would have gone if I'd missed. Wow, lag for a moment. Honestly, for a Troodon, there is nothing more dangerous than a laggy target. Despite the initial laggy beginning, we chased them off, and now we could eat the carno that we had killed. Thanks, Sarahs! As the sun rose and the rain slowed, we moved away from the river and back toward the plains. During our short travels, I spotted a juvie stegosaurus, and as most everyone knows, you've got to hunt those while they're young, before they become literal menaces. I wasn't the only one with that idea, though. An adolescent Serato rushed in. How annoying. The silly thing attempted to face tank the stegling, though, and quickly became a pile of meat. Now I could get back to hunting the stego as previously planned. With an abundance of food, we enjoyed our spoils greatly, until yet another Serato showed up. And some people wonder why the world is tired of Serato players. Anyway, back to business. I was healing off my bleed from the previous fresh spawn Serato attack, when yet another arrived, bypassing the corpses and running directly to the bush I was resting in. Not suspicious at all. So yeah, this stunning and brave individual, realizing he had bitten off more than he could chew, began sitting on the waterline and screaming to attempt to draw in larger predators to kill us instead. Unfortunately, I was injured and needed to sit back and heal my bleed before I could do much more. And yet, there it was. Yet another Serato. I attacked it, thinking it was the one that had attacked me in the bush, only for that one to show up immediately after. I allowed the new one to flee, and finished off the original. When I next logged in, I spotted a Dilo carcass beside the lake where I'd logged out the previous day. Unfortunately, a Serato was already eating it. Have I mentioned that Seratos are simply the most populated animal to ever exist? I wanted that food. Not because I was actually really that hungry, but because a Serato had it, and I was determined to bully the corpse bully. While he stood by and watched from the water where he felt safe, I filled my belly and moved away. There was a Herrera that had arrived while I was eating, and I wasn't going to take any chances on it jumping me. Didn't mean that I didn't intend to jump him, though. The Hera got down and opened the Dilo corpse, and I proceeded to pounce him and chase him away from it. The Serato, of course, then attempted to take advantage of the situation, and I promptly pounced him too. My food. Mine. I'm not hungry, but I'm taking these intestines, thank you very much. We moved back toward south in hopes of collecting a few more noodles to join the cause. It was time to hunt something bigger. We didn't find more troos, But we did spot an adolescent Maya. I mean, it's bigger. Maybe not the adult being mobbed by a large pack we hoped it would be, but with only 2 of us, it might be doable. I tracked it to my favorite little southern patrol zone, and we waited in some form of ambush. Or, well, just a bush, honestly, but basically the same thing. While my first pounce was beautiful, my second pounce dismount sent me flying off a cliff. My entire life flashed before my eyes, and then I landed safely at the bottom without taking even a tick of damage. Oh. Alright, back to business. The Maya was camping the cliff edge, clearly hopeful that I'd died in the fall, unaware yet that I was perfectly fine. I mulled over my choices. I could attempt a pounce, but if I missed, I'd die. But if I landed it, I'd feel super cool. I decided to go for it. And I stuck the landing perfectly. I was right. I felt cool. The Maya clearly decided it was less than cool, though, and it tried to fight back before knocking me down and running away. Stamina was quickly becoming an issue. Without stamina, we could not pounce, and if we couldn't pounce, we couldn't do any proper damage. Troo isn't like Dilo. Their normal bite doesn't apply venom. Regardless, we continued to track our target. It used some thick bushes to confuse us for a long moment, but then we realized it had circled back. We wasted a ton of stamina before finally landing another pounce. There was a long moment of trying to decide if we should keep up the hunt. We didn't have the stamina to do so. We returned to south to get water. As we were drinking, though, who should show up but the Maya again? We waited, planning another ambush. We'd get him this time. I stopped to regain stamina while Farmer kept on the Maya. This was a much better area to attempt to hunt it, though having only 2 Troodons was immediately making it more difficult than it needed to be. We simply didn't have the stamina to keep the pressure on. That wasn't going to stop us, though, and as soon as I had enough stamina to trot, I was back on the attack again. He'd backed himself into a tight corner, and finding an opening was difficult. But that wasn't what made us back off. A Herrera on the cliff above was the bigger problem. We moved away, waiting, hoping that we wouldn't lose our target to the squirrel. We didn't. Instead, we lost it to none other than a stego. Don't get me wrong, we were willing to continue the hunt, but then they crossed the waterfall and joined several tenantos on the other side. We were too hungry to risk that level of herbivore herd. We needed to find food elsewhere. Once our bellies were full, though, we spotted the Maya yet again. Still with the Tennos, now with another Maya. He was growing fast. This hunt was getting more impossible by the minute, but we were nothing if not relentless. We went for a couple of pounces, preparing to face the wrath of the Tennos. but were instead absolutely shocked to see them start attacking the Mayas. Wild. But hey now, the younger one was ours. I missed my pounce, but the point was made, and the Tennos turned back as we continued our pursuit. By now, this Maya had to be annoyed. He just couldn't seem to shake us. But the initial chase drained a lot of stamina, and now he was running again. We tracked him as long as we could, but he ran far and fast. We just didn't have the stamina and speed to catch up again. A few days later, I logged back in, and we set up shop beside Northeast Lake. There was a massive group of Apaches nesting up there, and they were out for blood. As we casually hunted tacos, one of the Apaches attacked. See, here's the thing though. Hunting Apaches as a Troodon is an incredibly viable option. And now this one had made itself a target. 3 pounces in and he wasn't scared yet. He even stopped chasing to beat his face against the ground for no apparent reason. How silly. Just a few more pounces though, and his downfall was complete. The only problem was the rest of the Apache mob. The aggressive little buggers wouldn't let us have our food. We regained stamina and got a drink, but anytime we attempted to approach the corpse, they would turn into an angry mob and chase us down. What a nightmare. Well, if we had to fight for our food, I guess we had to fight for our food. Unfortunately, we lost one of the pack, and things began to get more dicey. Another Apache attempted to help the one we were fighting, and actually just broke him instead, which sent our already injured target scurrying back to the rock, and his excessive amount of buddies, while the new one stepped in to keep us away from our food. I went for a pounce, and it did not go well. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please make sure to leave a like and comment your thoughts below. If you're new or haven't already, please consider subscribing for more content like this. Thanks, and I hope to see you soon.